Welcome to the 2018 Texas Longhorn preseason show. I'm Cedric Golden, joined by my guys Brian Davis, Kirk Bohls, and Danny Davis. Horns coming off a 7-6 season, year 2 under Tom Herman. Everybody's excited. 0-0, hope springs eternal. I'm going to start out with Kirk. The big news coming out was Sam Ehlinger's getting the start. Will he last 12 games? And why do you think Tom picked him over Shane Buechele?
Well, he'll still be alive after 12 games. Will he be starting and healthy? I'd be surprised if he makes it through 12 starts. You know, that's a very vulnerable position, and his style of play is not conducive to lasting an entire season. He's kind of an adrenaline junkie. He thrives on being physical. It's just in his DNA and who he is. And both Shane and Sam alternated getting hurt a lot last year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again this year. And I think it's paramount by the end of this season that Tom Herman knows who his quarterback is going forward into 2019, whether it's Shane Buechele, Sam Ehlinger, or maybe one of the two freshmen.
What do you think, Danny?
Shane is going to start at least once or twice this year. You look back at last year, a lot of good quarterbacks in the Big 12. Oklahoma State was the only team that started the same quarterback in all 13 games. So whether Sam gets hurt, whether they need a spark, whether Kansas decides to not shake his hand before the game, a la Baker Mayfield. I mean, something's going to happen. It's just too that position is, like Kirk said, just too vulnerable. Something will happen. So Shane's going to need to stay ready. But Sam's a guy. Was obviously picked for a reason, and we'll see how far he can take them.
BD.
Well, Sam is the guy. We're going to see Shane, and I think we're going to see Cam Rising before it's all said and done.
Whoa, easy, Tiger.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm not predicting that Cam Rising is going to become the starter or anything like that, but I really like with this new NCAA freshman rule, as long as they can play 4 games or less, they can still count as a red shirt. Tom has every reason to get Cam Rising on the field, to get him some snaps. Maybe it's mop-up time, maybe it's in a pinch, whatever. But to say that we're going to see one guy all the way through the season is going to be wrong for the reasons you guys have mentioned. We will see 3 quarterbacks this year.
It's refreshing to hear you say mop-up time. Texas hasn't had mop-up in quite some time.
They've been mopped up.
I don't even know if there's a mop over there. So several areas of concern entering the season. I think that's the biggest one. That would be my biggest one. I know there's some other areas that are going to be troubling to Tom going in. What do you think, Brian, is besides quarterback, is another area?
Well, the one area that hasn't really been talked about a whole lot, I don't think, has been defensive line. And everyone knows that Poona Ford is gone, but Chris Nelson is supposed to step in there. And there has been a lot of expectation that Chris Nelson is going to do well, but he is coming off an elbow injury. And, you just don't know for sure that he's the same player. And so when you look at who's in the middle, I saw Keandre Coburn making some plays in the one-on-ones this month. I expect to see him out there. Christmas is another guy that I think is going to be well served to stopping up the middle, because I think with Todd Orlando's defense, if you can just hold guys up, you let Gary Johnson, Anthony Wheeler, and the linebackers go around and make plays.
Cool.
Offensive line's my concern. They were, 97th in the country in rushing. Your leading rusher was the quarterback. That's not a good situation, a good recipe for success.
Vince let him in rushing.
And Vince is Vince.
Okay.
And he's not living here anymore. So I don't know. I just say they've had so many different combinations. Zach Shackelford at center is a big key because he got dominated by bigger, stronger, more powerful nose tackles, and that clogs up the middle and has a big factor in them not being able to run the ball. So I don't know if there's a great offensive lineman there, but I think there could be more stability there. How good is Anderson, the transfer from Rice? If he's that good, maybe he'd be in the NFL now. But I think they will improve in the offensive line, and I think that's critical.
Danny?
Tom Herman refuses to say their names, but he may be screaming them if they continue to struggle, and that's the kicking game.
Wow.
They struggled last year, they struggled the year before, they struggled the year before that. They need to figure out whether that's Joshua Rowland has a magical senior season or Cameron Dicker comes in like Travis Kidd and wins that job. They need to find some stability in the kicking game, and Michael Dixon's not here either, and he was the Texas Bowl MVP. So, and he was a asset. We talked way too much about a punter last year, but we talked about him because he was really, really, really good, and Absolutely. He is now in Seattle. So they need to find a way to replace him.
He was also the busiest guy on the team.
Too busy.
So
Too busy.
you don't want punters to be that busy this year.
Or the MVP.
I know the Big 12 is lost some star power. Baker Mayfield's gone, Mason Rudolph's gone, James Washington. Are there any All-Americans on this roster? And if not, what's the closest person they have to an All-American? Start with Danny.
Chris Boyd is my pick for Big 12 preseason Defensive Player of the Year. I'll go with him. He's their number one corner now that Holton Hill's gone. Devontae Davis is obviously a good guy to play across the field from him, but Chris Boyd needs to have a big year in this conference.
I like that pick. I think he's got star quality. I think he and Gary Johnson have a chance. I'm going to go with little Jordan Humphrey. It's probably idiotic because they won't pass enough. They rotate their receivers too much. But I think he's the best player on this team. He's a grown man. Probably more like Gary Johnson, but I'll go with little Jordan just because I think he's the best player on the team.
PD.
I will go as my Texas All-American as the guy who is selling $5 beer on San Jacinto Boulevard, Bevo Boulevard as it were. That's my pick to click for All-American this year. $5 beer outside DKR.
I like his chances.
On the field, I like his chances a lot. On the field, I agree with Danny a whole lot. Chris Boyd is a guy who's done a lot of talking.
Not to us.
Not to us, though. He's done a lot of talking
on the field.
On the field. But now that Holton Hill is gone, everyone's going to be looking at him to make big plays. Chris Boyd, I agree with Danny, is a guy to watch.
I'm going to go outside the box. Caden Stearns is a freshman safety. Instead of going to his senior prom, he decided to come to school and invest in his future. He will be a freshman All-American. I don't know that they'll have a real All-American. Let's close this up. This is what everybody's waiting for. Where will they finish? What record do you predict for the Texas Longhorns in 2018, Brian?
I'm just going to go with 8-4. It's kind of generic, but that's how I feel about it. I think that's progress. To me, put the record aside, if we get to November and you can say, watch out for Texas in 2019, that to me is a successful season.
Doug?
Yeah, Texas is a year away. Hopefully it's just a year, maybe two. I don't know. I don't know how many elite players that Tom Herman has. He has some, but I don't think he has enough yet. So I think 8-4 is a very safe pick. Well, I have to say this: that's 2 wins improvement over the 6-6 regular season last year. So I think they can go 8-4, and maybe if things fall in place, maybe they get 9.
Danny?
We oversell Texas every year in this prediction thing. I'm going with 7 wins, and I still think I'm probably overselling them there. I went with 7 wins last year, and we oversold them in the regular season.
You think they're 6-6?
I don't know if they're better than last year, but this conference is down, so maybe that gives them a little bit of a boost, and they can get off to a good start against Maryland and Tulsa. But 7 wins, and I don't feel great about it.
The over-under in Vegas was 8.5 wins, and my cousin went and bet Texas to win 9 games. I think he's clinically insane. I'm going to go 7-5. Hopefully they still won against OU or Oklahoma State and go 8-4, but I'm not going to oversell them this year. Either way, we'll be there. It will be fun. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you at the games.